The aegis or aigis, as stated in the Iliad, is carried by Athena and Zeus, but its nature is uncertain. It had been interpreted as an animal skin or a shield, sometimes bearing the head of a Gorgon. There may be a connection with a deity named Aegis or X, a daughter of Helios and a nurse of Zeus, or alternatively a mistress of Zeus. The aegis of Athena is referred to in several places in the Iliad. It produced a sound as from a myriad roaring dragons and was borne by Athena in battle. And among them went bright-eyed Athene, holding the precious aegis which is ageless and immortal. 100 tassels of pure gold hang fluttering from it, tight woven each of them, and each the worth of 100 oxen. The modern concept of doing something under someone's aegis means doing something under the protection of a powerful, knowledgeable, or benevolent source. The word aegis is identified with protection by a strong force with its roots in Greek mythology and adopted by the Romans. There are parallels in Norse mythology and in Egyptian mythology as well, where the Greek word aegis is applied by extension. In Greek mythology, Virgil imagines the Cyclopes in Hephaestus' forge, who busily burnished the aegis Athena wears in her angry moods, a fearsome thing with a surface of gold like scaly snake skin, and the linked serpents and the Gorgon herself upon the goddess's breast, her severed head rolling its eyes, furnished with golden tassels and bearing the Gorgonine in the central boss. Some of the Attic vase painters retained an archaic tradition that the tassels had originally been serpents in the representations of the aegis. When the Olympian deities overtook the older deities of Greece and she was born of Metis and reborn through the head of Zeus fully clothed, Athena already wore her typical garments. When the Olympian shakes the aegis, Mount Ida is wrapped in clouds, the thunder rolls and men are struck down with fear. Aegis-bearing Zeus, as he is in the Iliad, sometimes lends the fearsome aegis to Athena. In the Iliad, when Zeus sends Apollo to revive the wounded Hector of Troy, Apollo, holding the aegis, charges the Achaeans, pushing them back to the ships drawn up on the shore. According to Edith Hamilton's mythology, Timeless Tales of Gods and Heroes, the aegis is the breastplate of Zeus, and was awful to behold. However, Zeus is normally portrayed in classical sculpture holding a thunderbolt or lightning, bearing neither a shield nor a breastplate. The aegis in classical poetry and art. Greeks of the classical age interpreted the Homeric aegis usually as a cover of some kind borne by Athena. It was supposed by Euripides that the aegis borne by Athena was the skin of the slain Gorgon. Yet the usual understanding is that the Gorgonine was added to the aegis, a votive gift from a grateful Perseus. In a similar interpretation, Aex, a daughter of Helios, represented as a great fire-breathing onyx serpent similar to the Chimera, was slain and flayed by Athena, who afterwards wore its skin. The aegis, as a cuirass or as a chlamys. The Douris cup shows that the aegis was represented exactly as the skin of the great serpent, with its scales clearly delineated. John Zetzes says that aegis was the skin of the monstrous giant Pallas whom Athena overcame and whose name she attached to her own. In a late rendering by Hyginus, Zeus is said to have used the skin of a pet goat owned by his nurse Amalthea, which suckled him in Crete, as a shield when he went forth to do battle against the Titans. The aegis appears in works of art sometimes as an animal's skin thrown over Athena's shoulders and arms, occasionally with a border of snakes, usually also bearing the Gorgon head, the Gorgonian. In some pottery it appears as a tasseled cover over Athena's dress. It is sometimes represented on the statues of Roman emperors, heroes, and warriors, and on cameos and vases. A vestige of that appears in a portrait of Alexander the Great in a fresco from Pompeii dated to the 1st century BC, which shows the image of the head of a woman on his armor that resembles the Gorgon. Origins. Herodotus thought he had identified the source of the Aegis in Libya, which was always a distant territory of ancient magic for the Greeks. Athene's garments and aegis were borrowed by the Greeks from the Libyan women, who were dressed in exactly the same way, except that the leather garments are fringed with thongs, not serpents. Robert Graves in the Greek myths asserts that the aegis in its Libyan sense had been a shamanic pouch containing various ritual objects, bearing the device of a monstrous serpent-haired visage with tusk-like teeth and a protruding tongue, which was meant to frighten away the uninitiated. In this context, Graves identifies the aegis as clearly belonging first to Athena. One current interpretation is that the Hittite sacral, hieratic hunting bag, a rough and shaggy goat skin that has been firmly established in literary texts and iconography by H. G. Gutterbach, was a source of the aegis. Etymology: the Greek alpha gamma iota sigma has many meanings, including violent windstorm, from the verb iota of sigma, sigma omega equals I rush or move violently, akin to kappa alpha tau alpha iota gamma iota of sigma, thunderstorm. The shield of a deity as described above. Goatskin coat, from treating the word as meaning something grammatically feminine pertaining to goat, equals goat plus suffix iota of sigma. The original meaning may have been number 1, and zeta epsilon sigma alpha gamma iota omicron chi omicron sigma equals Zeus, who holds the aegis, may have originally meant sky, heaven, who holds the thunderstorm. The transition to the meaning shield or goat skin may have come by folk etymology among a people familiar with draping an animal's skin over the left arm as a shield. In Egyptian and Nubian tradition, the aegis also appears in ancient Egyptian mythology. The goddess Bas sometimes was depicted holding a ceremonial sistrum in one hand and an aegis in the other, the aegis usually resembling a collar, or gorget embellished with a lioness head. Plato drew parallel between Athene and the ancient Libyan and Egyptian goddess Neith, a war deity who also was depicted carrying a shield. Ancient Nubia shared many aspects of its mythology with ancient Egypt, and there is debate about the original source of some religious concepts that the two cultures share, and whether the assimilation was from Nubia to Egypt, the reverse, or through continuing exchanges. At one time the Kush of Nubia ruled ancient Egypt. An image of Isis wearing an aegis was discovered in present-day Sudan, the territory of Nubia, when the artifact was made in the 4th century BC. It is likely to be an artifact of the flourishing culture of Meroe, successors to the culture of Kush, as indicated by the use of Egyptian hieroglyphs and cartouches. In Norse mythology, the dragon Fenrir bears on his forehead the aegis helm, or aigis helmet, or more specifically the helm of terror. However, some versions would say that Alberic was the one holding a helm, named as the Tarn Capi, which has the power to make the user invisible. It may be an actual helmet, or a magical sign with a rather poetic name. Aegir is an Old Norse word meaning terror, and the name of a destructive giant associated with the sea. Aegis is the genitive form of Aegir and has no direct relation to Greek aigis.